Exponents, Part 7. In today's lesson, students will learn how to divide exponents with coefficients. How to do what? Divide exponents with coefficients. Very good. We're going to continue to learn how to divide exponents, but this time we're going to have coefficients that are going to be at the top and the bottom of the fraction. What are we going to have? We're going to have coefficients. And remember, coefficients are numbers. What are coefficients? Numbers. Okay. So remember when you see the bar, that's a fraction bar and it means to divide. What does it mean to divide? And of course, when you divide, okay, when you divide exponents, you have to do what? You have to subtract. But you're actually going to divide the coefficients. So we're going to say when dividing, so write the word dividing. When dividing exponents with coefficients. What are coefficients again? They're numbers. They're what? Numbers. First, you're actually going to divide the coefficients. And what will you do to the exponents? When you divide exponents, you subtract. You do what? When you divide exponents, you have to subtract. Then we're going to subtract the exponents. Okay, so go ahead and write that down and read it with me. It says, read it with me. It says, when dividing exponents with coefficients, first divide the coefficients, then subtract the exponents. So how many steps do you have? This says first and then. So how many steps do you have? You have 2 steps to this. And it's really easy because it's just like 2 steps with multiplying exponents. So when dividing exponents, first divide the coefficients. And in this example, it says 8x to the power of 6 divided by 2x to the power of 3. So first you have to divide the coefficients. What is 8 divided by 2? Okay, how many times can 2 go into 8? You say 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's going to be 4. Then you have to subtract the exponents. Okay, so let's expand it. How many x's are on top? How many? 6. So you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Divided by how many x's now? Okay, we have 3. 1, 2, 3. So notice that 4 is still at the top. Okay? And the number will always be at the top of the fraction, okay, in these examples. So we have to go ahead and cross cancel the x's. How many can we cross out? We can cross out 1, 2, 3. How many are you left with? 3 x's. So the answer is 4x to the power of 3. Very good. Okay, and that is the same as saying that 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay, let's do this example. It says, read it with me. Number 2, it says 16 x to the power of 4 divided by 4 times x to the power of negative 3. Okay, so now you have a negative exponent. You know when it's negative and down, move it, what? When it's negative and down, bring it up. All right, but first, the first step is to divide the coefficients. Okay, so 16 divided by 4, skip count by 4, is 4, 8, 12, 16. So the new coefficient at the top is 4. Okay. Now, you have x to the power of 4 on top and x to the power of negative 3. So when it's negative and down, bring it up. So at the top you have 4 x's, right? But then you're going to bring up 3 more x's. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3. How many x's do we have all together now? How many x's? 7. So this is 4 to the power of 7. 4x to the power of 7. Now, if you just take a look at the exponents, you know you have to subtract, right? So x to the power of 4 minus a negative 3. And let's just remember, what is negative times negative? A negative times a negative is positive. So when they touch, they become positive. So that's why we have to add 4 plus 3, which does give us x to the power of 7. Go ahead and write that down. Okay, so we're going to do 5 examples. I only wrote down the first one so that you can focus on it and you don't go ahead. So again, when you're solving these division problems, first you have to divide the coefficients and then you have to expand and cross out or subtract. That's really what you're doing. You're subtracting when you're expanding and then cross-canceling to 1. Okay, so first we say, all right, divide the coefficients. What is 27 divided by 3? I will wait for this answer. What is 27 divided by 3? You got to skip count by 3. Go ahead and skip count 3 by 3 with me. Say 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. What's the answer? The answer is 9. Okay? So you're going to get 9. That's going to be on top. Always the number is on the top. Then you write your line. Okay? You're going to expand out these exponents. So this x to the power of 7, so say x times x. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then at the bottom you have x to the power of 3, so you have 3 x's. How many x's can you cross out? You can cross out 3. 1, 2, 3. And how many are you left with? You're left with 4. So when you simplify, the answer will be 9 x to the power of what? X to the power of 4. And remember, that is on top, isn't it? Okay, when you subtract, I just want you to work with the exponents. We need to practice this. So just work with the exponents to make sure that they're correct. You have x to the power of 7 over x to the power of 3. Well, that really equals x to the power of 7 minus 3, which is x to the power of 4. Do you have to move that down? Is it a negative exponent? Okay. It's a negative exponent? No, it's not. It is positive, so you do not move it down. Okay. So let's try the next one. The next one is going to be, I'm going to make the coefficients red, so I'm going to say 16 times x to the power of 2 divided by, this is the divided by line, 2x to the power of 5. Okay. So what do you notice about the exponents? Is the bottom exponent bigger? Yes. So if the bottom exponent is bigger or the top exponent is smaller, either way, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a negative exponent. Okay? What are you going to end up with? A negative exponent. So first, divide your coefficients. What's 16 divided by 2? 16 divided by 2. How many times do you skip count by 2 to get to 16? 8. So that's going to be at the top of your fraction. Now, let's expand out. How many x's do you have on top? 2. And how many x's at the bottom? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many should you cross out? You can cross cancel 2. How many are left at the bottom? 3. So now you see this is really 8 divided by x to the power of 3. So this is 8 divided by 3 x's multiplied together. But when you subtract, I want you just to take a look at the exponents. So rewrite this as x squared divided by x to the power of 5. So what does this become here? You're subtracting, right? So it becomes x squared minus 5. What is 2 take away 5? And don't tell me it's 3. 2 take away 5 is negative 3. Do you have to bring it down? Negative and up, bring it down, yes. And that's why it is in the bottom of the fraction. Okay, so the next example is going to be 54. That's your coefficient on the top. 54 x to the power of 6 divided by 9 x to the power of negative 2. Okay, what do you have to do first? Oh, you can't see it. What do you have to do first? You have to divide the coefficients. So 54 divided by 9. What's 54 divided by 9? Come on. 54 divided by 9. Skip count by 9. It's 6. So 6 is going to be on the top. All right. Now, do you have a negative exponent here? When it's negative and down, move it Move it up, exactly. So here's what you're supposed to do. Because it's negative and down, you have to move it up. So we first start with 6 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but then you have to add 2 more because you have to move it up. How many x's do you have now? 6 plus 2 is 8. So really this is 6x to the power of 8. Okay? And when you subtract, you're going to put a box around your exponents. You're going to just subtract these and say x to the power of 6 over x to the power of 2. You have to subtract because they're being divided. Sorry, this is negative 2. You say this is x to the power of 6 minus a negative 2. So negative times negative is positive, and that is why this is 6 to the power of 8. Did you have to move this up? Yes, so I want you to put an arrow up and put, yes, I had to move it up. Okay, up here you moved it down, so we should have put an arrow down right there. Okay, let's do 2 more examples. The next example is 48, write it with me, 48 x to the power of negative 4 divided by 12 x to the power of 1. Okay, so first we do 48 divided by 12. How many times do you count by 12 to get to 48? How many times? 4. So 4 goes on top. Okay, now you know you can't expand a negative exponent, but when it's negative and up, move it down. What did I say? Negative and up, bring it down. So you're going to actually move this down. And at the bottom, you already have 1x, but now you're going to go ahead and add 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many x's do you have now? You have 5. So the answer to this is 4 divided by x to the power of 5. And let's see why that is. Okay? You have to take a look at your exponents and subtract. Say, okay, this is x to the power of negative 4 divided by x to the power of 1, right? So this is actually x to the power of negative 4 minus 1. So in this case, you have 2 negatives, okay? You have a negative 4 and a negative 1. So same signs, add and keep. Negative 4 and negative 1 make negative what? Negative 5. So this should be x to the power of negative 5. And do you have to move it up? Yeah, I know it looks like it's down. Hold on one second. I'm just going to put it like this. X to the power of negative 5. Have to move it down. Okay? Because it's at the top. All right, so you had to move it down. We already know that if it's at the top and it's x to the negative 5 and you move it down, it becomes x to the positive 5. All right, let's do one more example. The coefficients are 6. It's going to be 6 times x to the power of negative 2 divided by 2 x to the power of negative 4. Okay, I want you to take a look at the exponents really quick. Okay, do you have a negative exponent at the top? Yes. And a negative exponent at the bottom? Yes. So when this is negative and up, you bring it down. When this is negative and down, you're supposed to move it up, right? So you do the reciprocal. You do the what? The reciprocal, right? When the bottom becomes the top and the top becomes the bottom. And when you do that, it makes the exponents positive. So really quick, what's 6 divided by 2? 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay. So this is supposed to be 3. When the bottom becomes the top, you're going to write x to the power of 4. When the top becomes the bottom, you're going to write x to the power of 2. You see what I did? I switched these, I flipped them, and I made them positive. Okay, I flipped them and I made them positive. So now I can expand x times x times x times x at the top and 2x's at the bottom, and I'm going to cross out 2, and I'm left with 2. So now, did I move it up and down? Not really, okay? All I did is I took the reciprocal. And I am left with, let's look, x to the power of 4 minus 2 is x to the power of, what's 4 minus 2? 4 minus 2 is 2. So the answer should be 3x to the power of 2.